everyone, taking advantage of the fact that I wore makeup today to do a video for our next series, which is the anatomy of. Yes, the anatomy of. It is a law series and it is the anatomy of various parts of the law pertaining to businesses. So yay, let's get started. So today we're going to start with the anatomy of a contract. And by anatomy of a contract, there's many different parts, but we're going to get into the main parts of a contract. So in order for there to be an enforceable contract, there has to be a bargain for exchange, which means an offer, an acceptance of the offer, and there has to be something exchanged for whatever's being offered. So what I mean by bargain for exchange, totally sounds like my contracts professor right now, but it means either a promise for a promise or promise for a performance where another person affirmatively does something, or they decide that they're not going to do something in exchange for whatever's being offered. So in order for there to be an actual contract, like I said, a bargain for exchange has to be had. Another thing that is very important in contracts is to have a beginning and an end date. It's super important to know when the contract begins and when it ends. There's certain rules pertaining to when it has to be in writing, if it's going to be performed after a year, but we'll get into those details later. But definitely try to always have a beginning and an end date and a time period when you want whatever services or whatever needs to be performed in the contract to be accomplished. Another thing that is super important in a contract is defining what those services are. I know it seems rather simple to say, I will pay you $500 to paint my house, right? Well, painting a house can mean anything, right? I could go and paint your door and your windows and say, hey, that was your house, it's part of your house. Hey, I painted your house. But it's very important to be very specific about what you want. In exchange for this price or in exchange for these services, I want X, and that includes this, and this. Outline specifically what needs to be had in order for the contract to be performed, right? Also, another important thing to do is to define exactly what is breach, right? So if you have a very clear outline of what is expected in a contract, then you should also have a very clear outline of what it means to breach the contract, right? So if you have that 5 things need to be accomplished in order for the contract to be performed, then not accomplishing those various parts of the contract is a breach. So having specific language as to what would constitute that breach is very important as well. There's a ton more of things pertaining to contracts, but just wanted to get into some of these basics right now. If you have any questions, feel free to hit me up in the DMs, or feel free to put some comments below and I'll address them in my other anatomy videos, and I will see you then.